Hello. How's it going, folks? I'm the Jason on it. It's Friday. Time for the Friday request stream. Friday time. Can you guys hear the music? You can hear the music, right? Can you hear the music? Hey, Invincible Warriors. Hey, hello, Hannah. Hello, Emo Girl. How are you guys doing today? Oh, thank you for the comment on the starting soon logo. I like that too. It's nice to have a little, I don't know. It looks a little more professional, right? So that's a good thing. Professionality. Oh, wait, let me get this. There we go. Where's the game? The game is here. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Wait, let me just double check this. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Wait, let me just double check this. Okay. That's good. I can't tell. You guys hear the music? I need confirmation. I don't have my laptop, I guess. The game, you know what? It's about, weirdly enough, I don't know. This game kind of weirds me out a little bit, just initially. I don't know why. Like, I'm an adult man playing a game about befriending a little girl. Emotional journey, like it says, emotional journey. Befriending a little girl, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming it's sad in some way. Emotional. Okay, thank you, Invincible Warriors. Appreciate it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a visual novel, I believe. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot, I don't think, except for maybe reading. So, I don't know, sit back. We're going to enjoy a story. I don't know how much to control. I don't know much about anything about this game. It was Rose's, or Emo Girl's, request. I'm going to try to do this from now on Fridays. We'll see. I want people to be able to see, hey, Pashi, see my collection of games, and then they get to choose on Friday. Just put that in your guys' hands, and I'll play whatever. I mean, if I have it or if it's free, I'll play it. So we'll just do that on Friday. It makes sense, right? Like yesterday, I have coffee and then a giant thing of flavored water. See how long each of them last. All right, guys. So you guys ready to watch a little bit of video game in action? Let's make sure we got the settings all good. Yeah. Italiano. Francois. Douche. Wait, Dutch. How do you say Dutch with a Dutch accent? Anybody know? Chinese? Not going to even go there. Okay, all right. Let's start. See what we got. It was 7 p.m. On that beautiful yet cold autumn day, the wind shook the frail tree's branches across the street. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Okay. Tristan Mallory made his slow, tired way. A whirlwind of leaves caught his attention, and he stopped to contemplate them for a few minutes. Leaves. Yeah. I don't know. I would watch some leaves. Out of nowhere. Alright. A spray of colors danced around him. Fragments of red, orange, yellow spread at random, forming a mosaic that stretched on as far as the eye could see. Okay. A rush of beauty in that gray and fuming city, that noisy metropolis that was constantly exhaling pollution. Ooh, those green eyes. Coming back to his senses, the 30-year-old man shook his head. Now wasn't the time to be daydreaming. He had to go home. The long day already weighed on his shoulders, but if he was completely honest, work wasn't the most tiring thing in his life. After all, an honest, well-paid job was somewhat of a luxury these days. Like any model employee, he consistently accomplished the task handed to him. No more, no less. No, that was really what was really destroying was a completely different form of fatigue. An appalling and crushing solitude that had been shadowing him for years, ever since his wife. The light tinkling in front of the door opening brought him back to earth. He was already at his flat. What's happening? A sad and silent living room was waiting for him. A shiver traveled down his spine as he entered the room. All right, this is how it's going to be, guys. You guys good for this? I'm just going to read in this in my smoothest possible voice and try not to mess it up. Maybe do a little bit of voices. I should have asked Nate to be here so he could help me do these voices. He is I think a little more professional than I am. I thought you said 3 old men. Did I? Oh, I probably just spoke too quickly. I don't know how this guy's supposed to be. 20, 30? In that range? I don't know. I mean, he's an adult, but he has a job. All right. Driven by an almost desperate urge, he didn't even bother hanging up his coat before slamming open all the doors of his flat, one after another. Each time, the same emptiness answered his pleas. He felt a rising dread within. His last hope, the last door, the forbidden room beyond. He opened it slightly and peeked inside. Of course, there was no one inside. He fell heavily onto the sofa. Oh, heavily. I'm sorry, not heavenly. The crushing solitude came back in full force, crushing him again and again, wounding his face with invisible cuts, the cuts of time. It was happening again. All of a sudden, Tristan Mallory felt immensely exhausted. He held his head in his hands, staring at the floor for a long time. After what felt like an eternity, he abruptly got on his feet. He gathered all the picture frames on display and stowed them away in a closet. The memories needed to be out of sight. When he was sure that there were no more pictures sticking out, Tristan put his coat back on and rushed outside. It was chilly and dark, a bit dark, but there was still enough light to see clearly. It was the ideal time to take a walk. At least that's what he once might have thought. As he hurried along the sidewalk, Tristan was anything but relaxed. He walked around the places that were most familiar to him, looking for sincerity that seemed to be definitively out of reach. Oh boy. While passing a park near his home, he suddenly heard a high-pitched, almost inaudible plea. His heart jumped as he stopped. In the dim light of the setting sun, he made out the silhouette of a little girl sitting on a swing with her head bowed. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. Afraid of startling her, he approached slowly and took a closer look. Her clothes were crumpled. She had neither a coat nor a scarf, and she bore various scratches as if she had been in a fight. The park was completely deserted, and she seemed to have been there for a while. For a second, Tristan Mallory felt the temptation to abandon her there, to leave her to her fate, but very quickly, he mentally chastised himself. He couldn't do that. So he placed himself in front of her and asked in a soft voice, "Something wrong?" "Oh, Nathan, we should have done this." Okay. At first, the little girl seemed not to hear him. She choked on her sobs, hiccuped, and shuddered. Look at that cute little guy. Oh, I'll replace this guy as my koala. There's a koala in the picture, by the way. Not very hard to find in my thumbnail. Okay. Patiently, Tristan Mallory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took her several minutes to calm down a bit, but eventually she wiped away her tears and answered with a faint voice interrupted by sobs. "I don't know. Oh man, I don't know. How am I supposed to do how am I supposed to do this? I think there's nothing more irritating than a guy trying to do a female voice and it sounds ridiculous. So it might just sound a little bit like this. Alright, I'm just going to keep doing this. So as long as, Rose, you're good with this, that's cool to me. I don't know. I think I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember what it was. Tristan Mallory sighed, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. She seemed so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tightly that her sadness would melt away, but at the same time, a voice within him Within was telling him that he shouldn't be too forceful, that he should be aware of her vulnerability. So he tried to stay composed and look reassuring. Yet in front of this sad little girl, he did not feel confident at all. Are you all alone? Where are your mommy and daddy? I don't know. Do you live far away from here? I don't know. What's your name? What is this thing right here? What is this? Anybody know? I have no clue. Is it the arrow? A weird smushy arrow? I don't know. Ambre? Well, Ambre, you can't stay here out in the wind. You're going to catch a cold eventually. And you don't want to get sick, do you? No, I hate being sick. See, you've got to go warm yourself up. It'll be night soon. But I don't know where to go. In that case, why don't you think about going to my place? It's not far away from here, and it'll be a much better place to sleep than this swing. Ambre seemed wary, but she had no other choice but to follow him. He gently reached a hand to her, and for the first time, she lifted her eyes. They were washed out, blurry with tears, and hesitant. He thought it a good idea to force a smile to appear reassuring. Even with the fatigue, Tristan Mallory, who will never be named anything but a full name, showed the most convincing smile he could and took her hand, so fine, so frail, to help her get to her feet. Okay. The young girl's steps were wobbly and weak. She had probably not eaten all day long. Carefully, he led her to his place, while making sure she wouldn't trip. I know, right? I know. This is weird. We're just gonna keep going with this. I did not pick this game, so I can't be held responsible. I was like, yeah, hopefully this is not a normal circumstance in your guys' lives. The guy, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping this is sweet and not creepy, but we'll go with it. If it gets uncomfortable, you guys let me know. Beyond now. It's like there's probably a little bit lost in translation, I'm betting. Is that what the bear here is? Is that what this bear is? I don't know. I don't want to mess, be making this a joke. Okay, all right. The man removed his coat and shut the front door behind him. Make yourself at home. I'll cook you something. Jason Smith was kicked off of YouTube. Passing through the kitchen, he turned on the light in the living room so that his flat would look less gloomy. While searching his fridge for a potential meal, he periodically stole several glances over the counter. In the living room, Ambre was still walking around, a bit wild, still on the defensive. She explored this new environment by looking around, admiring the ornaments. Unfortunately, she didn't find much to pique her interest. It was a bland house, almost too bland. There were no clues about its occupants' lives. Oh, boy. It's funny, Invincible Warriors. Really? Would you wear this? You would wear this outfit this girl's wearing? I mean, she has cute hair. Look at that. I mean, it's, actually, the guy has, cool hair too. The hair design is good. All right, I'm just kidding. Keep going. We just have to, what do you want to call it? Call to attention the possible weirdness of this, and it's going to go with it for now. All right. Taking advantage of Tristan's being distracted by a packet of noodles, she escaped to the hallway and tried to find the bathroom. She found it quickly enough, but before returning to the hallway, she noticed that all the doors were wide open except for one. I'm guessing she's going to help him. Strangely, before she even had time to think about it, she was drawn to that doorway. Intrigued, Ambre felt magnetically attracted by the slightly open door. Just one peek was all she wanted, but she struggled to see anything through the crack. Was this Bluebeard's cabinet? What? A frightening tomb where Tristan Mallory stored the corpses of his former wives. The little girl really had an imagination. The girl pushed the door open, entered the room, and switched the light on. Oh, It was a bedroom filled with plush toys and soft cushions. Oh, man. Guy. I mean, I really want to give this game the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I don't care. This is doing something different. Oh, wow. Yeah, just go in here. I don't know if society has made us this way or what. Or this is a natural reaction to this. All right, bedroom filled with plush toys and soft cushions. A big bed was was so proudly displayed in the center of the room, accompanied by a pretty dressing table to one side. The walls were painted to look like a bright blue sky. I'm wasting my beautiful voice on this. The storage furniture, coordinated with the sweet colors of trinkets, was overflowing with mysteries. On the nightstand, she could catch a glimpse of a night light shaped as a cute mascot. There was a fairy tale ambience about this strange room, to the extent that Ambre couldn't repress a little exclamation of surprise. Closing the door shut, so that the 30-year-old wouldn't discover her hiding spot, she stretched out on the colored bed, rolled into a ball, and jumped about, stuck under her bed sheets. I didn't pick this game. Oh, gosh. This is... Oh, man. Don't worry, Rose. I'm not holding this against you. We got to find out what this is. But I'm like, whoa, okay. I don't know what. Inexplicably, she felt... How old am I again? Guys, this is my fantasy game. It seemed to have been built for her. Oh god, to correspond to her every fantasy. Oh my god. Oh. Okay, we're continuing. Then she approached the big teddy bear that was tempting her. These words. She grabbed it immediately, hugged it, and was covered with kisses. Her pale face was illuminated by a wide, pure, innocent smile. A child's smile. I know. Oh, you guys. Okay. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Tristan had finally cooked the noodles that, distracted him so, and was about to serve the meal when he noticed the absence of the little girl. Slightly worried, he called for her. Bear. Ambre, are you here? Nervous, he looked for her in all the rooms, checking first to see if she was in the bathroom. By knocking on it, right? He searched everywhere in the house until there were only the front door that makes a lot of noise when it's open, so I would have heard it if she left. Could she actually be in there already? I need a new daughter. With a contrite sigh, he headed toward the fully lit forbidden room and discovered Ambre playing with the stuffed animals. His gaze softened. I suppose that I can't do anything, he reassured himself. Without a word, he went and sat next to her. Okay, when they take me to court, you guys have to have my back. On the bed, the little girl was moving the stuffed animals' hands while making them speak. In her weak voice, she was narrating a stuffed animal tea party and seemed to be enjoying herself very much. The light was back in her eyes. Suddenly, she got mad at a plump cow and scolded her harshly. It's dirty. Stop right now. You're making a mess. No. All right. Hey, listen, I'll completely not try to make this funny if you want to emo. I don't want to mess this up. But like I said, I think we just have to admit some things are a little bit weird. Ollie, what'd you just say? It's dirty? You've got to behave yourself. And don't roll on the floor. You shouldn't make a fuss about... okay. Do this again. And don't roll on the floor. You shouldn't make a fuss just because you didn't get what you wanted. As a punishment, she sent the cow in a corner while ordering her not to move and replaced it with a pony with long eyelashes. The stuffed animal tea party hosted by the blue monkey was obviously not going as planned. Tristan examined the little girl's every move with care. She finally noticed his presence. He felt he had to speak. Are you having fun? Yeah, I didn't know that there was a bedroom like this in your house. Whose room is it? That was my wife's favorite room before she left. What happened to her? It's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you another time. Meanwhile, meal is getting cold. Don't you want to eat? I'm coming right now. What's for dinner? Spaghetti bolognese. Looks like he has a toothpick in his mouth. Great. I love it. That evening, Tristan Mallory admired little Ambre as she wolfed down her food. Half amused, half distracted. I mean, listen, if your parents find out, you're like, hey, this guy took me to his house. All right. Oh, no. Okay. Seeing her so happy soothed his heart a little, but at the same time, oh, God, no, I didn't mean... No, take it off auto. Ugh, can I go back? Too bad. The child suddenly asked with a serious air. A little. I worked hard today. She didn't comment further, still amazed by the princess's bedroom. She revived the topic with starry eyes. Starry eyes? Do you like it? Oh, what? God. I'm just fumbling this all around now. I'm so sorry. Yeah, a lot. I wish I had a similar room. If you want, I'll give it to you. What? My wife left a long time ago. Her stuff is still inside, and I don't use it. So if you like it, it's yours. Wait, what? Okay. You can stay in her room while I'm looking for your parents and what you lost. What do you say? Can I really? But it doesn't belong to me. There's nothing sadder than a house without life, don't you think? Oh, I keep forgetting his name is Tristan. Oh, God. Okay, taking a breath. I know that my wife loved to rest in her favorite room. There she felt at ease, like on a cloud, but now she's not living here anymore. Since you seem to like this place, I think it would make her happy to know that her bedroom is in good hands. I can do whatever I want in it? While I'm at work, you'll be able to play in this room as much as you want. I'll leave you some leftovers for lunch. You only have to heat them up in the microwave. And in the evening, we'll play together if you'd like to. Do I need to go to school? No more schools, only games. Yay, great! In front of Ombre's overflowing enthusiasm, Tristan Mallory couldn't help but smile faintly, almost pitifully. Yep, that's it, he kept telling himself as if to reassure himself. All I'm doing is keeping her around until she remembers who she is and what she's lost. Yeah. Oh, they were like little circles, weren't they? Waiting for her to remember. Okay. Thus began their strange routine. Tristan Mallory woke up early in the morning to go to work, but before leaving and rushing into the fog, he had to take a few minutes before facing the daily grind. A few brief minutes on the threshold to gaze at the sleeping Ambre. Then he ran away through the streets covered by dead leaves, escaping far away toward the mountains of paperwork, toward the baleful tower furnished by vast offices where the slaves, chained to their computers, toiled away for the lord of that place. Well, at least that's what the little girl thought his working day looked like. As for her, she woke up easily around 9 a.m., and her first reflex was to stretch and yawn in front of the cartoons with a bowl of cereal in hand. She followed her favorite heroines' adventures. All of them were beautiful and courageous. All of them were friends for life, princesses and with elegant superpowers, covered with light effects and flower petals. Rich and beloved, they lived a perfect and an enviable existence. Especially the main character, who owned a bedroom very similar to Ambre's. It was colorful and filled with cute accessories. However, this room was only a part of a bigger palace furnished in the same way. How would I like to live in a castle as well? With cute animals as her friends, the heroine haunted the villains, fell into traps, and called for the help of her charming prince, an ideal and fantasized man who served with her hand and foot. Oh boy. Yeah, I do. Nathan. How do you feel about playing a, I don't know, what do we want to say, like 7, 8-year-old girl? Listen, you jump on the Discord, I'll put you right on. This is the jail cast. Yeah. All right. Life seemed easy, full of laughs and adventures. All that was needed was to send back the bad woman to her hiding place in the darkness. After all, she was nasty because she envied the young girl, dazzling girls. Nasty because she was old and disillusioned. Ambre would have loved to have magical powers, allowing her to make cute outfits appear, allowing her to have a stable where unicorns slept, allowing her to have a ballroom where she could organize extravagant parties based on beautiful dresses and cupcakes. Oh, that's fine, man. No problem. Cool. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Enjoy that pizza, man. It was always disappointing for her to see the end of the episode. Of course, there were other programs, but the story with magical jewels was her favorite. When the cartoons ended, she went to fill the coloring books in her room, daydreaming about almost being among those heroines. And then, at midday, she heated up the leftovers that Tristan had left and went back to watching TV. New programs awaited her. Again, she had her favorite. The one where the little girl owned a puppy that was different from the others. It was a red puppy who could sneak around. It was so very adorable with its big eyes and comical expressions that it made her melt. How I would like to have a dog that cute. Meal passed, and quickly the rhythm of the opening songs that she knew by heart. Oh, to the rhythm. This was usually the time Tristan chose to call to make sure everything was okay. She never missed this opportunity to tell him that the content of the episodes of the day. How the heroine defeated the evil witch in her magical mirror, or how the little dog helped her mistress at school. Relieved, he would start eating his sandwiches without appetite, but sated by the little girl's words. She hung up, satisfied with her story, and usually turned off the television after the last cartoon to rest on her big bed surrounded by her stuffed toys. Around this time, she usually read a fairy tale. She loved to tell herself the story of Cinderella again and again, while suckling her teddy bear's ear. Oh, sucking her teddy bear's? What? Okay, it was her favorite. People and life itself were nasty to Cinderella. She had to work hard. It was exhausting. She had to earn her meal. And the nasty, ugly sisters believed themselves superior. Fortunately, the prince recognized the heroine's natural talent. She was pretty and she was special. What is happening here? He brought her with him to his castle to live a golden experience, where she wouldn't have to work her fingers to the bone, where money flowed freely, where Cinderella could have everything she wanted, including all the things that shone: accessories, dresses, cakes. All she had to do was fill time was organize parties with her friends. The ugly sisters were not invited. They were too ugly, too rude, and they did not deserve such a paradise. Cinderella was happy. She knew love, true love, the only love, the love with gilding and glitter. For what more could she ask? Ambre fell asleep happy, hoping to meet her charming prince one day, the one who would only have eyes for her and would give her a room like that one the princesses she admired so much had. Oh my! Oh, is that different? YouTube gaming and only. Oh, is that seriously different? I better stop putting out the link for YouTube gaming then. That's weird. Why wouldn't that you be subscribed on both? When she opened her eyes, the little girl rushed again to the living room to watch a tape, a Disney movie. Depending on her mood, she would choose one of the animals, or one with a couple who happily lived ever after. Often then, she watched Snow White and the Little Mermaid. Ambre loved the idea of a glass coffin containing a body that would not grow old despite death, that would remain always young and beautiful, lying in wait to be freed of her prison for the magical kiss that would change the course of her story. The prince spirited her away from the common hut of those proletarian dwarves who were friendly but so uncouth. Wow. She also loved the idea of the beautiful and rebellious mermaid swimming through the oceans looking for a treasure, but sacrificing her freedom for the man in her life, sacrificing the endless to squeeze into the gilded cage that had fantasized about 1,000 times. She had fantasized about 1,000 times. Beautiful and rebellious mermaid never listened to anyone else. Have you guys seen The Little Mermaid? Which reminded her of her own condition. She too was a sweet, capricious girl. She played these tapes on loop day after day until snack time came. By then, stuffed with idyllic images, she dug into the sweets that Tristan bought for her. Cupcakes, colorful macaroons, pastries, bread, and Nutella. Nutella. Hey, Techno Engineer, how you doing? Oh, you're playing basically the same game I'm playing. Of course, there were cartoons at this time as well. It was getting late. She finally pushed the button, pushed the off button to resume her fantasies elsewhere in the room, or her room, wielding her dolls with skill, perfectly tracing the course of her dreams. But the high point of the day was probably when Tristan finally returned from work. She knew he was there from the creaking of the door. She would rush into the living room to greet him. And all joyous, she would throw herself at him, timidly at first, and then with more enthusiasm over the weeks. She loved being carried on the shoulders to mimic an airplane and fly through the flat until they crashed on the bed laughing. Playing together was so much fun. With her friend, she could give life to her characters more easily. Her favorites? Playing Mummy and Daddy. Ambre played the role of the mother, always occupied by the well-being of her child. A PVC doll with dead eyes supposed to embody what is this? Adorable little baby. You have some square eyes, buddy. She had to wash him, change him, cuddle him, and give him his bottle. Tristan had the role of the father. He had to read the newspaper in the kitchen while waiting for his wife to cook him a good meal. A role which hardly got him involved, but he was more than satisfied with that. Ambre took her task very seriously. She had the lead role, after all. Therefore, she served her imaginary husband plastic fries and fruits with a bossy pout. He appreciated the gesture. However, the real meal was left to Tristan once the game ended. A meal which the little girl took as the opportunity to deliver the rest of her fabulous adventures. Tristan only had to listen to her with a smile on his face before requiring her to go to the bathroom to wash up and brush her teeth. Ambre always grumbled at bath time, but her sexless Barbie mermaid quickly helped her to forget the inconvenience. More than once, the slyly waited for the 30-year-old man to come close enough for her to shoot him with a fish-shaped water gun. Innocent laughter would ensue. Then the little girl had to be tucked into her big princess bed while he was telling her a story, usually a fairy tale. In those moments, she blinked more and more slowly, looking up at him with touching expression. Tristan would almost melt from cuteness. He was careful not to close the door all the way. The corridor's light had to hunt the monsters which could disturb Ambre's sleep. It was a specific request from her. She was fearful. The man had to protect her from ghosts at the slightest shout. That was his promise to her. Before going to sleep, Tristan found some comfort in contemplating her asleep. He hoped that her sleep would be inhabited with nice dreams, that she wouldn't forget him, that she wouldn't think about him that she would think about him in whatever way that may be. Could she even feel his presence or how much he cared for her? Oy boy. That's okay. This is so enrapturing or whatever. I'm not going to say anything to this game. Listen, we can talk about it afterwards and just we're all here together. The way they organized their weekend allowed for a more festive time. It was time for outings. Time for outings. It was out of the question for Ambre to get bored, to stay shut in the tight and bleak flat again. She had to have a change of scenery. So they went to lively places: the pool, the amusement park, the ice rink, the movie theater, restaurants. She had to try everything. Every week was a different universe. Running along at a brisk pace with her impeccably polished shoes, the little girl jumped from ride to ride while hanging on Tristan's arm. It warmed his heart to see her having innocent fun. In front of a smile that big, he could only imitate the girl's good mood despite himself. Every time when she would inevitably ask for dessert, a pancake or an ice cream, he would watch her, spreading whipped cream on her face out of the corner of his eye. The temptation to lick the dab of ice cream from the tip of her nose. The temptation to lick the dab of ice cream from the tip of her nose or the corner of her lips was nearly too much. What? That's what it says. I'm reading it. You're right, I should play Resident Evil 7. Yeah. We're going to take this all in. Listen, I'm just reading things that happen. This is a game that's out in the public. I'm doing fine. This is fine. I like reading this. I'm having a nice time. Yeah. Please don't report me. I didn't make this game. Such a display, both childish and unhealthy, tickled his darkest thoughts and his most pitiful thoughts. I mean, okay. However hard he rejected them with all his strength, his hands became sweaty and trembling. Wait, what? Wait, is this actually... No, this game isn't about this, is it? Oh my God. He confessed his torment. Ambre couldn't understand. Ambre is a little girl, only a little girl. Oh my God, is it about this? Is this what this game is actually about? No. A few minutes flew by at breakneck speed. Tristan refused to admit it, but his young friend was growing up. He wanted to ignore that fact, turned a blind eye, but the unstoppable passage of time already started to do its work. Ambre was going through a strange crisis. That evening, she was particularly angry and proclaimed vigorously. Did he ever try to find her parents? I don't want to be a child anymore. How so? I want to become older. But you have plenty of time for this, Ambre. I want to become older faster. That way I could do more things. The 3-year-old man sighed. He obviously did not know how to answer such assertions. He had never had a child, and he was not very good at calming down revolts regardless. So he slid out. Taken aback, he left the girl to sulk in the living room, to go take a long, relaxing shower. While well, I had to destroy this tape when we're done. While he was soothing his worries in the rush of hot water, he displayed an angry pout. It's not fair. I wish I could be older right now. If I only had a model. What? I wonder what Tristan's wife looked like, for example. I'm sure she was a kind person. But he never wants to talk about it. He avoids the subject. Could it be he's hiding something from me? Intrigued, Ambre took advantage of his absence to open a drawer she had never touched before. Inside, under the telephone directory, was a big leather notebook. Convinced she had found a treasure, she grabbed it and opened it. It was a photo album. Spread on the pages were bright smiles and tender gestures. Oh, okay, it's her niece. Browsing through the pictures, the little girl discovered her guardian, young and dashing, in the arms of a coquettish young lady. I don't know how to say that word. Coquettish. Dressed soberly and tastefully, she was strolling along the seashore with a shawl on her shoulders. She was strolling along the seashore with a shawl on her shoulders, or in a park holding an ice cream. But what caught her eye was a very specific picture that towered in the center of the album. That's a cool picture. There's a nice art there. Tristan, wearing a suit, was leading his lover out of a church with clumsy footsteps under a shower of flower petals. She looked happy, so fulfilled. In her large, refined white dress, that Ambre was stupefied. All the more so as the bride looked exactly like her. Oh, God. Nope. She's so pretty. What are you looking at? Tristan's sudden appearance made her jump, so much that she dropped the forbidden object. His gaze darkened immediately. Oh, boy. You searched through the closet to see what my wife looked like, didn't you? She answered in a shaky voice, guiltily. Yes. Are you going to scold me? Of course not. I just would have preferred that you didn't see it. Why? Why don't you ever talk about her? I want to know. He sighed, appearing upset as he looked into those begging eyes. Eyes that had never been able to resist. Oh, God. To resist for long. Reluctantly, he sat down on the couch and told her how he had met the one he thought he would love. God dang it. Okay. He sat down on the couch and told her how he had met the one he thought would be the love of his life and related all that they had gone through together. Ambre listened with wide-eyed attention. She liked that story very much. Tristan seemed to briefly get younger as he evoked the past, describing how head over heels he had been for her and how happy she had made him. Their peaceful and ordinary life was something like the little girl envied. Caught up in this state, or this tale, she couldn't help but pressure him. And then, what happened? Until the light shining in the man's green eyes brutally vanished. Okay, so hold on. Let me just look at the chat real quick. Back, can't listen all. So if he insults me, I wouldn't do that. Okay, see you, technical engineer. Sorry I missed saying goodbye to you. I've had too much Coca-Cola. Red Bull. Oops. Oh, no. Put the game back on. Okay. All right, let's continue. I think I caught up on the chat. And then she left. Where to? A faraway place where I can't reach her anymore. Every day I pray that she'll somehow hear me, that she'll wake up, that she'll remember me. I don't know if she'll ever emerge from that dream that's keeping her captive. Is she dead? Sometimes I feel like it. But no, she's still alive. Just in a different form. In a different world from mine. What? If I could have joined her, I would have. I would have sacrificed everything for her. And today, she's forgotten me forever. That's sad. Tristan sighed again, head down, as a heavy, crushing silence came between them. Ambre stared at the photo, bewitched by the woman's smile. Deep down in her heart, she had an odd thought. If I was older, I could replace Tristan's wife and he wouldn't be sad anymore. That night, she felt left a devastated Tristan lying as immobile as a statue on the sofa. Slipping between the covers of her cozy bedsheet, she felt helpless. If only I was older. The thought took root more and more violently in her mind, to the point where it became an emergency. She had to become Tristan Mallory's wife. Oh, maybe. Is that what's happening? Can we, not be too creeped out anymore? A new routine seized little Ambre. It was now out of the question for her to stay a little girl. She wanted to grow as suddenly as a butterfly, a beauty cursed by its ephemeral life. Thus began a kind of adolescence. She no longer woke up in the morning when Tristan went to work. She waited until midday to surface and took her meal at that time. Tristan did not call her at the usual hour anymore either. He knew that she would not be in the mood. After a brief meal, the young girl watched television while leafing through magazines she bought with the pocket money her benefactor gave her. Her afternoon fluctuated between American TV shows and beauty tips. Between the pages of magazines, she learned how to become pretty and seduce men. To seduce men. An idea she liked a lot. She wanted Tristan to look at her, to take an interest in her in a different way. Oh my God. To be seen as a woman, she had to act as a woman. But she absolutely didn't know how to do this. These magazines, which were overflowing with tips of all kind, seemed like an El Dorado to her. Okay. Through the articles, she learned how to act, how to become a true lady. That's how you guys do it. You read magazines and you become a true lady. Pizza. All right, what's happening here? Where am I at? It wasn't very complicated. She only had to keep a close watch on all of her gestures, to constantly control her every movement so that as to convey the best image possible. She had to track down all human weaknesses, every inconvenience, and walk with a relaxed and self-assured air, but not too much, or she would frighten. She would crush. Ambre nodded as she was reading what the editor wrote. Of course, she had begun to be open and smiling, but not too much that she came across as exuberant. She had to laugh often, but not too loudly, as it was what hysterics would do. She had to be independent and take initiative, but only if the situation lended itself to it in a non-threatening way. She had to show herself to be as natural as possible while enhancing all of her advantages with a note of makeup. Ambre understood the necessity of buying some in order to become a true woman. Oh boy. Don't listen to this, young ladies. She had to dress with an effeminate way to demonstrate her worth while being sober enough as to not attract unwanted attention. And then she was advised to learn to listen to men, not to talk too much, which would be selfish, and discreet but present, available as soon as he needed without really showing it to him. Oh boy. As she turned the page after page, the young girl felt a pressing urge to spend money on all of the products shown in the advertisements and praised by the editors. After all, she would need them in order to seduce the brave Tristan. How could she have the slightest chance without cheating a little? Further down, revealing psychological tests claimed that Ambre would gain more affection by acting like a fragile little girl. Men needed to be reassured of their virility and of their protector's role. Plus, she was too vulnerable, too frail. She couldn't manage anything worthy without some help. She had to find a validation in his eyes, a validation of her very existence. Oh boy, if he thinks I'm pretty, I'll be pretty, like in the photograph. Like this, Ambre spent her afternoons reading tips from women's magazines, training herself to conceal. When she wasn't watching series, often romantic ones, She was shopping in the city to bring back clothes, accessories, or cosmetics. The city, like the television, constantly spat images of absolute and infinite love, of a perfect and purifying love, like a drug, an obligation, a flawless pleasure, and an order. Every billboard sold the same dream, oh so cliche, oh so desirable. It was a pursuit of the fairy tale formula, and they lived happily ever after and in opulence that had lots of children. Oh, bye, Invincible Warriors. Watch the end later. See what happens. Novel and movie herons all ran after the same goal. After the lure of profit, wealthy, luxury, a life where everything would be easy, but where everything would have lost its taste, a dull and hollow life, an eternal masquerade. Just checking the time. But this existential emptiness was just as easy to fill. You only had to consume and be consumed. You only needed to devote your soul, to spend even more, to remove the vestiges of nature, to hide that ridiculous body, too personal, too imperfect, too real, and to replace it with an ethereal sheath, a mirage. You only needed to spend without restraint in order to conquer the piggy bank of your dreams, a mere machine that gives banknotes and weak organisms. Oh no, orgasms, okay. Yeah, right? Okay, to present yourself like a diamond, a beautiful shiny trinket that everyone should have in their living room. You only need to destroy your own value, immaterial, and replace it with cold, hard cash. Man, what is this about? And then you only need to bask in idleness, go around in circles in your cage without any purpose to continue living in a dignified way, wandering like a lost soul, disguised as a clown that drips with red, a grim automation. Who needs to fill the hole, the absence of life, the disease that devours your blood? All your authenticity with money, always more money. Bye, until you forget the unease, the angst. What in the world? Ambre admired today's celebrities, those picture-perfect idols which nothing sticks out, bodies without even the slightest trace of life. Their uninspired songs only glorified the permanent state of pleasure without toil. Like mass-produced Barbie dolls, all with these celebrities merged into a single canon of beauty, deemed as unsurpassable, absolute truth. The stars divided into endless cycle of vanity, with such ease that it was truly fascinating. Every minute that passed after the singer's first success was a minute of intense scrutiny, as the world glued its eye to the morbid show that was her slow suffocation, her imminent drowning. Nothing could be more enjoyable, more exquisite, than staring at those young women slowly being engulfed by the shadowy tentacles of their dreams. See ya, Nathan. I just want to check the time at the end. Yeah. Okay. They sacrificed their bodies to cut the surgical scalpels to the point of no longer resembling themselves anymore, to the point of transforming into some kind of wonderful monsters. They reject their personalities and histories to melt into the mold, to conform themselves to the public's every expectation, to become the showcase of modernity. The icons of this single form of happiness was advertised at the very the icons of this single form of happiness that was advertised at every street's corner. A form of happiness that little Ambre stared hungrily at. Oh my god. I'm losing it. Becoming a star seemed out of reach, but looking like one was a duty that women's magazines never ceased to remind her of. That frivolous press, so uncomplicated, so fraught with consequences. When Tristan Mallory came home at the end of his working day, he would find Ambre waiting hand and foot, trying to cook delicious meals for him. Ambre, always elegant, craving to look her best, like a perfect little housewife with a strong character. He was past the point of missing the innocent days, But in all honesty, he didn't even understand why the young girl was putting so much effort into becoming such a perfect creature. One evening, she was cooking a usual dish, one which recipe has been recommended on TV, accompanied by a candlelit table in order to celebrate his birthday. He dared to ask, "But Ambre, why are you doing all of this for me?" An honest question hit like a ton of bricks. His complete incomprehension sounded like an insult. She probably spent hours gussying up in the bathroom. Hours to appear fit to be seen, fresh. She probably spent hours tidying in the house, cleaning every nook and cranny until it was spotless. She probably spent hours decorating. Hours taking care of this godforsaken roast, laboriously cutting vegetables. And here he was asking her why she was trying so hard. The knife in her hands fell violently to the floor, emitting a metallic sound, very much like an ill omen. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Ambre's voice trembled dangerously. While getting close, he noticed her hands were shaking frantically. Frenetically? No, frantically. Eyes wide open, soaked in tears, she exploded. Because I want you to love me. I want you to look at me. Why don't you ever look at me? I'm not good enough. Is that it? Will I ever be as good as she was? Will I? But Ambre, what are you talking? Who are you talking about? Uh-oh. Dumbfounded, Tristan held her in his arms as tightly as he could. No, he truly couldn't understand. He couldn't understand such intense and sudden sobs. Reassured by his gesture, Ambre wanted to explain herself. I'm sorry. I'll never be able to replace her. Who are you trying to replace, Ambre? Tell me. Your wife. I can see that her departure left you very sad, and I wanted to bring a smile back to your face. I wanted to take her place, so you'd forget about her. For a split second, Tristan Mallory was breathless. It was surreal. He would have pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming, but no, the pain in his chest was far too real, too pitifully carved in him. How could he answer such a declaration? How could he find the right words? Catching his breath with difficulty, the 30-year-old man, he's 30-year-old, took Ambre by the shoulders and looked her in the eyes for a long time. After a brief sigh, he affirmed, "Listen, I will never be able to forget my wife, all right? It's impossible. But that doesn't mean I don't want you. It's the exact opposite, actually. You're very dear to me, Ambre. You hear me? I need you. You already have her place. Please stop crying. Don't make it even harder than it is." The young girl shyly dried her tears, and her features changed to an adorably naive expression. She looked sincerely despairing. "You're okay with me? What made you think I abandoned you, huh?" "Nothing. Just that you seem to love her so much. I'm a bit jealous." "Why is that?" "I don't know. When I look at those pictures, I can't help but tell myself I must absolutely make... Oh, God dang it. When I look at those pictures, I can't help but tell myself I must absolutely make you happy. I think I love you." Tristan felt all the courage and determination he had worked up melting away overnight, and he started sobbing as well. "But I love you too. I loved you for so long. I love you so much it makes me sick." "For real? You're not treating me like a kid?" "Of course not." "Oh God, what?" Nah. "Then prove it." "What do you mean?" "Show you regard me as a true woman." "You want me to do that?" Ambre silently nodded. She seemed dead set on it, so Tristan softly kissed her lips. The warm and pleasurable feeling went to his head. For a few seconds, he felt as if he was holding his wife in his arms, and as if he'd come back for real. The delicate skin smelled deliciously vanilla and reminded him of happy days. Happy days. Afternoons spent laughing in the sun, peaceful evenings, under the light of the stars, by a fire, of a shared umbrella, and shelter from the storm. She was here, so close, so far, within the finger's reach. He had only to close his eyes and believe in this dream. The illusion smiled faintly at him. At his limit, he embraced her. If you only knew how much I love you. He had said so many things that he had wished to tell her. So many that the flood of words blocked his throat and nothing could come out. So, for a lack of words, oh God. All right, I got no. Rose, what is there? I don't know how to see this as not bad. Somebody, is there a rationale here that I'm not seeing? This is making me very uncomfortable. Oh boy. Ugh. Yeah. I don't. Good luck with the pizza, Nate. Oh, wait. What do we got here? No. Is there... do you know how this ends? Is there something that kind of makes it not creepy? I don't mean... Like, I'm fine to finish this because I've gone so far. Is it... I don't know. I wish I knew how long this was. Hold on. Let me look this up really quick. Now I've got it now. But I don't... Okay, Ambre. How long to beat? Oh, so we're almost done. Is this the end? Oh, something cool, interesting gonna happen? All right, yeah, let's just finish this. I mean, come on. If this was like some total sicko game, you think I would have heard about it. All right, here we go. We're continuing. Still don't feel bad. Oh, wait, where's my... Okay, all right. Nope. But I seriously insist you stop playing if you're comfortable. No, it's okay. All right, I tell you what. Who's watching? Hannah, you're watching? Do you want me to get to the end of this? I'll give you a couple seconds. God, he used his body. Oh, okay. Maybe this is totally in. Web of Lies. Ooh. Okay. Well, we'll keep going. You know, I'm in so deep. The dawn's rays like crept through the window. Ambre was deep asleep, lying atop Tristan's. This is going to be something to talk about. Like, we're going to have to really discuss this. Tristan's, or maybe never discuss it. Okay. Ambre was deep asleep, lying atop Tristan's still lukewarm body. Eyes surrounded by circles, the weight of regrets, fatigue he couldn't get rid of. He stared at her with a sad smile on his face. It was just a dream, wasn't it? When you wake up, you'll be a child again, right? The only answer he got was a light groan, softened by such a serene face. He felt a kiss. He left a kiss on her fresh cheeks. As soon as he did, the sleeping lips spread to form a happy smile. I wonder what you're dreaming of. Say, why don't you invite me over there? From that strange night on, in a paroxysm of lies, Ambre got Tristan to agree to become a more or less official couple. Thus, he demanded an engagement ring and did not hesitate to walk the streets locked to his arm. Soon it was enough anymore. Eager, vicarious even, she couldn't mercilessly... Okay. Soon it wasn't enough for her anymore. Eager, voracious even. She couldn't merely settle for the girlfriend status. She needed more. She needed to surpass the woman who preceded her. The invisible rival, whose shadow was always looming like a Damocles sword. So she dragged Tristan to the wedding shops while dreaming of a perfect ceremony of her big day. Magazines and advertisements, the television, the whole world was yelling at her that this was what happiness was. So wasn't it only natural for her to embrace it to the fullest? Wasn't this every girl's dream? Marriage was promised and sold like a real-life fairy tale application. There was a very expensive, beautiful dress, a princess's dress. The bride had to be the story's heroine, and everyone had eyes for her. And then she would have at her service all the cosmetic and superficial accessories in which the stars constantly bathed. Famous singers all lived in some sort of permanent wedding. A strange and unlikely fantasy. Ambre, too, wanted to taste this heaven the world was constantly singing the praises of. So she pushed Tristan to please her. He proposed to her, and both of them organized a ceremony with great pomp. What are we zooming in on? This? This is the creepiest game. On that day, Ambre, still so frail, seemed to shine more brightly than ever. On that day, Ambre thought she finally erased all traces of her rival. But still wasn't enough. The life she was living didn't seem perfect enough just yet. She still needed something else to be entirely fulfilled. She wished to start a family. After all, the world had sold marriage to her as a never-ending fairy tale, but she needed a goal to keep on living. And it was said her biological role, her natural role, was of course to procreate. True women obviously yearned for becoming mothers, an unchanging law that was probably written somewhere in a fragment of DNA code. A true woman had the duty of having a child, preferably a girl that she could educate with her same moral codes she had received. Her living doll to play with, brush her hair, play tea time with. You ought to busy herself with something. Fill your existence or access some kind of eternal fantasy, one or the other. A desire, a project as a couple. Oh, as a couple? Or just an implicit order that came deep within your entrails. Ambre had read and seen everywhere that those who didn't want kids were automatically unhappy without realizing, immature, almost disabled by selfishness or neurosis. True love would bear fruits, just like the princess could only be revealed as such by a prince. That's where Cinderella's myth lay. Ambre didn't know it yet, but the clock had started ticking long ago, and it was dangerously approaching its final moment. Okay, this is an interesting screen. Well, Tristan Mallory took coldly and eagerness of the young girl to procreate. Oh, God. He did his best to clumsily claim what had... reacted to do with baby, A to D dispense with accessories. Her biggest wish was to give birth to a little girl she could gussy up as much as she wanted. I'm trying to get past this now. Boosh. I'm gonna... Months slowly, dreadfully went by, the rhythm of Ambre's growing obsession. She was always eagerly wanting a sign, watching out her body for the indication of good news. Try after try, she repeated this, faced the fact that something was wrong, something wasn't working. She might as well desperately attempt the hardest. She still wasn't pregnant. A shower of doubts started pouring in her own mind. Oh, God. Okay, listen anymore. Blah, 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 blah. I'm skipping. One day at the hospital, Dr. explained the situation big for a minute. Kindly whispered to her. What are you doing? No need to try that hard. You'll only hurt yourself further. Oh, God. Yep. Doctor, positive comfort had already been done. Ambre was in shock. Her dreams just crumbled into pieces of ocean and dust and litter. She felt that... Hospital completely distraught, speechless, stiff, moving as mechanically as a robot. She heard nothing of the last kind words the doctor pronounced. All she knew is that she had to go home. Once outside, the sky's blinding gray light made her lose her bearings. She was in the city where she had always lived, yet the buildings, the cars, the people passing by, they had all turned ghostly and haggard silhouettes in a dark, upside-down world. Her sight had become blurred. as little as she staggered aimlessly. The city crumbled in a gigantic pile of ashes. The voices of pedestrians around her corrupted into an inaudible language, metallic and meaningless. Managed to reach the park instinctively, not really knowing how terrifying dread was seizing from her inside. Unable to see and unable to understand anymore, she let herself fall onto the grass, pupils wide open. All of a sudden, the gray-filled images of her past came back to her, and the reality brutally hit her in the stomach. It's impossible. Why? Why me? Even though I am normal. I'm not trash. No, it's impossible. My dream. I wanted to be happy. She remembered the mirror. The crude light above the mirror that showed her all of her flaws, her imperfections. Excruciating, needed to be perfect. To be flawless like the models, the actors, the singers that were on every screen, that were constantly seen. To be seen, to be admired, to have every corner of yourself analyzed. To be unapproachable. Take care of everything, hide everything, keep everything inside, even if the fragile surface is going to crack under the weights of lies. The mirror in front of which she carefully put on makeup for long minutes. The miraculous product that could erase those damned imperfections, those damned traces of humanity. Shave her legs, not leaving a single hair, frame her brows, choose best outfit to possible, show herself to advantage, add a layer of makeup on her face to make the identity disappear in favor of a single form of beauty, a majestic beauty, an artificial beauty, impossible to attain. In the mirror, in front of which she mirror. Not being able to accept herself anymore, the endless impetus after time, nature, a constant effort to kill yourself to prevent yourself from existing. An ethereal body fantasized a corpse's body. The mirror is scrutinizing in the depths of my heart. It knows everything. It sees everything. I can't escape. I cannot escape. Locked in by her obsessions, Ambre convulsed frantically while letting out piercing shrieks. It has to stop. It has to stop. Suddenly, the emotional pressure became so strong she completely lost all sense of reality, and her mind cracked up. She didn't move anymore. She's no longer pronounced a single word. Motionless on the park's grass, she terrified eyes immobile. You could have believed she was dead if she hadn't been breathing faintly. The world seemed to freeze, explode, die in an insufferable shriek of agony. Her word. The clock had struck midnight, but Cinderella wasn't ready to give up on her dream. What in the world? It was 7:30 p.m. On that beautiful yet autumn day, the wind shook frail trees' branches across the street. What? Tristan Mallory made his slow, tired way. A whirlwind of leaves caught attention as he stopped to contemplate them for a few minutes. A spray of colors danced around him. Fragments of red, orange, yellow spread at random, forming a mosaic that stretched on as far as the eye could see. A rush of beauty, that gray and fuming city in that noisy metropolis that was constantly exhaling pollution. Coming back to his senses, the 30-year-old man shook his head. Now wasn't the time to be daydreaming. He had to go home. Ambre was waiting. As usual, she would probably seek advice about her future pregnancy. She would ask what name they should give their kid and how they should decorate his room. As usual, she'd worry about not seeing her stomach swell. As usual, he would have to minimize the problem and pretend it was no big deal to delay the inevitable. The long day already weighed on his shoulders, but if he was completely honest, work wasn't the most tiring thing in his life. After all, the honest, well-paid job, Yep. No, that wasn't really destroying him. What was a completely different form of fatigue, and an appalling, crushing solitude that had been shadowing him for years, ever since his wife lost her mind. A light tinkling in the door opening brought him back to earth. He was already at his flat. Ambre would have been there to greet him with a smile. Instead, a sad, silent living room was waiting for him. Shiver traveled down his spine as he entered the room. Where was she? Could it be? Could it be happening again? Driven by an almost desperate urge, he didn't even bother hanging up his coat correctly before slamming open all the doors, one after another, hoping she would only be sleeping in a corner. Each time, the same emptiness answered his pleas. He felt a rising dread within. His last hope, the last door, the forbidden room beyond. He opened it slightly and peeked inside. Of course, there was no one inside. That would have been too easy. He fell heavily on the sofa. Crushing solitude came back full force, crushing him again and again, wounding his face with invisible cuts, the cuts of time. It was happening again. Ambre had gone crazy again. She had run away once more. And once more, he would have to find her before she got hurt. He would have to play the part of a stranger, impassive, reveal nothing of the torment devouring him alive. All of a sudden, Tristan Mallory felt immensely exhausted. He held his head in his hands, staring at the floor for a long time. He needed to calm down even just a little, so that he could pretend that he wasn't affected by it. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he abruptly got to his feet. He gathered all of his framed pictures that had been on display and stowed them away in a closet. The memories needed to be out of sight. If Ambre discovered the pictures of her happily alter ego too quickly, she was bound to ask questions. This time, he had to hide them better than the last cycle. He had to stall for time. He had stored them in a drawer and locked it. The frames didn't take up too much space. After all, there weren't many of them. He always put the same ones on the buffet. She never noticed it. When he was sure that there were no more pictures sticking out, Tristan put his coat back on and rushed outside. Hey guys. It was chilly, a bit dark, but there was still enough light to see it clearly. It was the ideal time to take a walk. At least that's what he once might have thought. He hurried along the sidewalk. The 30-year-old man was anything but relaxed. Incredibly nervous, he walked around the places that were most familiar to him, looking for serenity that seemed to be definitively out of reach. He had to find her, to bring her back home. While passing a park near his home, Tristan Mallory suddenly heard a high-pitched, almost inaudible plea. His heart jumped, and he stopped. Whoa. In the dim light of the setting sun, he made out a silhouette of a little girl sitting on a swing, with her head bowed. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. Afraid of startling her, he approached slowly, and took a closer look. He was indeed standing in front of his wife, Ambre Mallory, who used to be so charming. Wait, was she not charming now? She was still pretty, but seemed to have aged prematurely. White locks here and there brightened up her long hair to the point where you couldn't tell her age anymore. With that appearance, she could have been an old lady, yet she was barely in her 30s, like Tristan, who didn't appear any younger. Back hunched, looking haggard, eyes more lifeless than ever, she was crying. Her clothes were crumpled. She had neither a coat nor a scarf, and she bore several scratches, as if she had been in a fight. Had she rolled on the floor again? Had she harmed herself? Regardless, she had most likely gotten hurt during her runaway. The park was completely deserted, and she seemed to be have been there for a while. She must have run away several hours ago, probably in the early afternoon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been in a state where she would be able to cry. She would have stayed motionless like a doll, unable to show the slightest sign of life, until, finally, she came back to her senses. For a second, Tristan Mallory felt the temptation to abandon her there, to leave her to her fate. But very quickly, he mentally chastised himself. He couldn't do that. She was his wife. He loved her. He had to take care of her, no matter what. But even so, sometimes he almost wished she could get lost for good, that she'd disappear, so she wouldn't have to live through this endless circle again. His conscience protested. They would have... nope, not doing it. They would have to feel too guilty, that he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. There was no way out. He had to live with this burden. So he placed himself in front of her and asked in a soft voice, "Is something wrong?" At first his wife seemed not to hear him. She choked on her sobs, hiccuped, and shuddered. He was not sure of it. He was now sure of it. She had forgotten everything once again. Patiently, Tristan Mallory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took her several minutes to calm down a bit, but eventually she wiped her tears and answered with a faint voice interrupted by sobs. "I don't know. I think I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember what it was." Tristan Mallory sighed, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. Always that nagging obsession, that curse. She seemed so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tightly that her sadness would melt away, and at the same time within him, a voice was telling him that he shouldn't be too forceful, that he shouldn't take advantage of her weakness. Ambre didn't recognize him anymore after all. He had to wait, even if desire to ease his own loneliness was suffocating. The woman he loved was there, just in front of him, and he couldn't do so much as touch her. So he tried to look confident, to look reassuring, yet in front of the sad little girl, he did not feel confident at all. "Why are you all alone? Where are your mommy and daddy?" "Where are your mommy and daddy?" Why would you ask her that? "I don't know." "Do you live far away from here?" "I don't know." "What's your name?" "Ambre." "Well, Ambre, you can stay here out in the wind. You're going to catch a cold eventually. And you don't want to get sick, do you?" "No, I hate being sick." "See, you've got to warm yourself up somewhere. It'll be night soon." "But I don't know where to go." "In that case, what do you think about going to my place? It's not far away from here, and I'll be much better place to sleep than this swing." Ambre seemed wary, but she had no other choice but to follow him. He reached a hand to her, and for the first time she lifted her eyes. They were washed out, blurry with tears and hesitant. Those were the eyes of a little girl stuck in a woman's body, the eyes of a woman haunted by her little girl obsession, the eyes of a trapped person. He thought it a good idea to force a smile, to appear reassuring. Even with the fatigue, Tristan Mallory showed the most convincing smile he could, and took her hand, so fine, so frail, to help her get her to her feet. The young girl's steps were wobbly and weak. She had probably not eaten all day long. Carefully, he led her to his place while making sure she wouldn't trip. The 30-year-old man removed his coat and shut the front door behind them. "Make yourself at home. I'll cook you something." Passing through the kitchen, he turned out the light in the living room so that his flat would look less gloomy, or turned on the light. While searching his fridge for a potential meal, he periodically stole several glances over the counter. In the living room, Ambre was still walking around, a bit wild, a bit on the defensive. She explored this new environment by looking around, admiring the ornaments. Unfortunately, she didn't find much to pique her interest. It was a bland house, almost too bland, where there were no clues about the occupants' lives. The pictures of their happy days were carefully hidden. Taking advantage of Tristan's being distracted by a packet of noodles, she escaped to the hallway and tried to find the bathroom to relieve an urgent need. She found it quickly enough, and before returning to the hallway, she noticed that all the doors were wide open except for one. Strangely, before she even had time to think about it, she was drawn to that doorway. Intrigued, Ambre felt magnetically attracted by the slightly open door. Just one peek was all she wanted, but then she struggled to see anything through the crack. Was this Bluebeard's cabinet? A frightening tomb where Tristan Mallory stored the corpses of his former wives? The little girl pushed the door open, entered the room, and switched the light on. In the kitchen, Tristan sighed. He was cooking Ambre's favorite meal, but his eyes were suddenly itchy. Shoulders down, he noticed his wife's absence. She must have found her room, he mentally grumbled. His hands were mechanically repeating the steps necessary to prepare the meal, but his mind was elsewhere. Little by little, he slowed down until he stopped completely. Still as a robot, he let himself fall against the wall. God, what have I done to deserve this? When is she going to come back? When is she going to wake up? His face in his hands, he cried silently in the empty living room. Will my tears reach you one day? When he felt better, he headed towards the forbidden room and caught up with Ambre playing with stuffed animals. His gaze softened, and I suppose that I can't do anything, he thought to reassure himself. Without a word, he went to sit next to her. On the bed, the young woman was moving stuffed animals' hands and making them speak. In her weak voice, she was narrating a stuffed animal tea party and seemed to be enjoying herself very much. The light was back in her eyes. Suddenly, she got mad at Plump Cow and scolded her harshly. What happened there? It's dirty. Stop right now. You're making a mess. Allie, what did you just say? It's dirty. You've got to behave yourself. And don't roll on the floor. You shouldn't make a fuss just because you didn't get what you wanted. As punishment, she sent the cow in a corner while ordering her not to move and replaced it with a pony with long eyelashes. The stuffed animal tea party, hosted by the blue monkey, was obviously not going as planned. The man examined the girl's every move with care. She finally noticed his presence. That evening, Tristan Mallory admired little Ambre as she wolfed down her food, half amused, half distracted. Seeing her so happy soothed his heart a little, but at the same time it was heartbreaking. He remembered the blissful days, already long gone with difficulty, but he still remembered them. He remembered the beautiful young lady, her adorable smile, her cheerfulness, their promises. In front of Ambre's overflowing enthusiasm, Tristan Mallory couldn't help but smile faintly, almost pitifully. Yes, that's it, he kept telling himself as if to reassure himself. All I'm doing is keeping her around until she remembers who she is and what she's lost. Waiting for her to remember, as if she ever managed to do someday. Tristan Mallory could have been an ordinary man with an ordinary life if his daily life hadn't changed dramatically a few years ago due to a dire event. Since that day, he was the victim of an infernal circle, an ordeal that seemed never-ending. He had been so happy, so fulfilled, with the woman he loved, the woman he had married. Ambre, so charming, whom he had sworn his life to. Ambre had gone mad. He had never realized how obsessed she was about having children until their doctor announced to them that she was sterile. The issue that seemed resolved to him, but to her it was as if she had been dealt the death penalty. They could have put themselves in the hands of science or just given up on that project altogether to make a new one. They could have been satisfied with their everyday life, but not for her. Ambre wasn't willing to let her little girl's dream go. To change a comma of the idyllic fairy tale she was promised. It was a need. It had to go that way and that way only. Then the pressure she put on herself had the upper hand. She couldn't be perfect. She couldn't conform herself with exactitude to all those absurd norms imposed to her. Something in her head, like a fragile thread, broke. She had an emotional breakdown. Right in front of her husband's bewildered eyes, she dived in one go into a kind of insanity. It was sudden and it was violent, from which she didn't want to return. Refusing to face reality, she escaped in a long dream, in a long nightmare where she became untouchable. It's okay, emo. Ambre reverted to childhood, where everything was easier, where everything was still possible. She didn't recognize her husband anymore, or didn't want to recognize him. So he had to pretend not to know her each time, tame her each time, until she would have a new breakdown and everything would reset again. He had to try to make her happy and help her to get better each time, even if it meant bending to her every will, even if it meant living in a world of pretend, even if it meant and unrequited love on his part. During this cycle, once more intrigued, Ambre took advantage of his absence to open a drawer she had never touched before. She had found a key in her guardian's room. It was a big leather notebook. Convinced she had found the treasure, she grabbed it and opened it. It was a photo album. Spread on the pages were bright smiles and tender gestures. Browsing through the pictures, the little girl discovered her guardian, young and dashing, in the arms of a coquettish young lady. Dressed soberly and tastefully, she was strolling along the seashore with the shawl on her shoulders or in a park holding an ice cream. But what caught her eye was a very specific picture that towered in the center of the album. Tristan, wearing a suit, was leading his lover out of a church with clumsy footsteps under a shower of flower petals. She looked happy, so fulfilled in her large, refined white dress that Ambre was stupefied. All the more so as the bride looked exactly like her. She's so pretty. What are you looking at? Tristan's sudden appearance made her jump, so much that she dropped the forbidden object that the 30-year-old man's gaze darkened immediately. You searched through the closet to see what my wife looked like, didn't you? She answered in a shaky voice guiltily. Yes, are you going to scold me? Of course not. I just would have preferred that you didn't see it. Why? Why don't you ever talk about her? I want to know. He sighed, appearing upset as he looked into those begging eyes that he had never been able to resist for long. Reluctantly, he sat down on the couch and told her how he had met the one he thought that would be the love of his life, and related all that they had gone through together. Ambre listened with wide-eyed attention. She liked that story very much. Yeah, I know. I don't know how far it goes as the same. Tristan seemed to briefly get younger as she evoked the past, describing how head over heels he had been for her and how happy she had made him. Their peacefully ordinary life was something like the little girl envied. Caught up in the tale, she could pressure him, and then okay. And then she left. To where to? Fade, can't reach her anymore. Every day I pray somehow she'll wake up, she'll remember me. I don't know if she'll ever emerge from that dream that's keeping her captive. Is she dead? Sometimes I feel like it. But no, she's still alive. She's just in a different world from mine. If I could have joined her, I would have. I would have sacrificed everything for her. Today, she's forgotten me forever. That's sad. Yep, sure is. Tristan sighed again, head down, and heavily crushing silence came between them. Could anyone imagine his suffering? Could anyone imagine what it felt like to be in his shoes? To see that your loved one can't even recognize you anymore, that she had forgotten everything about you, about your relationship. When Ambre was a little girl stuck in a woman's body, asked him why he was crying, he wanted to scream. Because I love you. Because we were so happy together. Because I can't live without you. Because I need your presence, your affection. Because I'm all alone. Because you're my wife. The woman I love. I beg of you, come back to me. Get a hold of yourself. Snap out of it. But it was useless. He had already tried to shake her, tried to talk to her like she was his wife. But if he did, she would remain terrified. She would move away from him. She would cry, telling him he shouldn't hurt her. So he gave up. He stopped trying to get his role back. Kept pretending, and his suffering got worse day after day, like a sly disease trying to consume him further. A fake smile, forget about yourself. Don't think about anything other than reassuring her. And how could he go on like that without being worn out? Tristan Mallory was no Superman. He was often on the verge of losing it, and he despaired to see no progress, even no hope for healing. Would Ambre ever return to normal? Would Ambre ever return to normal? He didn't believe that anymore. He'd become too disillusioned. One evening, he was feeling especially worked up. He dared to yell at the young lady who was doing her best to please him. He immediately regretted it, but the deed was done. Ambre's voice trembled dangerously. While getting close, he noticed her hands were shaking frenetically. Eyes wide open, soaked in tears, she exploded. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to love me. I wanted you to look at me. Why don't Why do you only look through me? Am I not good enough? Is that it? Will I never be as good as she was? Will I? But Ambre, who are you talking about? Dumbfounded, Tristan held her in his arms as tightly as he could. No, he truly couldn't understand. He couldn't understand such intense and saddened sobs. He only... I've held out this long. He only loved one person in his world. Only one. How could she believe for a second that she had been beaten by someone else? Reassured by his gesture, Ambre wanted to explain herself. Your wife. I can see that the departure left you very sad. I wanted to bring you a smile back to your face. I wanted to take her place so you'd forget about her. For a split second, Tristan Mallory was breathless. It was surreal. He would have pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming, but no, the pain in his chest was far too real, too pitifully carved in him. Ambre, locked up in her little girl's dream, was becoming jealous of herself, and she was trying to surpass her happy alter ego of the past. She was trying to destroy herself from her husband's memories, as if to rewrite the past like some kind of unconscious suicide. How could he answer such a declaration? How could he find the right words? Catching his breath with difficulty, the 30-year-old man took Ambre by the shoulders and looked in her eyes for a long time. He had to wake her up. He had to make her realize. He had to think of a way to tell her. After a brief sigh, he affirmed. Listen, I will never be able to forget my wife, all right? It's impossible. But that doesn't mean I don't want to. It's the exact opposite, actually. You're very dear to me, Ambre. You hear me? I need you. You already have her place. So please, stop crying. Don't make it even harder than it is for me. The young girl shyly dried her tears, and her features changed to an adorably naive expression. She looked sincerely despaired. You're still okay with me? What made you think I'd abandoned you, huh? Nothing. It's just that you seem to love her so much. I'm a bit jealous. Why is that? I don't know. When I look at those pictures, I can't help but tell myself I must absolutely make you happy. I think I love you. Tristan felt all the courage and determination he had worked up, melting away overnight, and he started sobbing as well. Did she recognize him just a little? Was it a sign from her subconscious? Had she finally got a grip on herself? But I love you too. I loved you for so long. I love you so much. It makes me sick. For real? You're not treating me like a kid? Of course not. Then prove it. What do you mean? Show me your regard for me as a true woman, that you really love me. Ambre seemed dead silent, set on it, so Tristan softly kissed her lips. The warm pleasure feeling went to his head. For a few seconds, he felt as if he was holding his wife in his arms, as if she had come back for real. The delicate skin, which deliciously like vanilla, reminded him of happy days, long afternoons spent laughing in the sun, peaceful evenings under the light of the stars by a fire of a shared umbrella to shelter them from the storm. She was there, so close, so far, with that finger's reach. He had only to close his eyes and believe in his dream. The illusion smiled faintly at him. At his limit, he embraced her. If you only knew how much I love you. He had so many things he would have wished to tell her, so many that the flood of words blocked his throat and nothing could come out. So for lack of words to make her understand his feeling, he used his body. Well, it makes a lot more sense now. Okay. Oops, I went backwards somehow. Then when Charles Ambre is surprisingly asleep, lying atop Tristan's still lukewarm body, his eyes turn in circles, smile on his face. It was just a dream, wasn't it? When you wake up, you'll be a child again, right? The only answer he got was a slight groaning. Softened by such a serene face, he felt a kiss on her fresh cheeks. As soon as he did, the sleeping lips spread to form a happy smile. I wonder what you're dreaming about. Say, won't you invite me over there? Please don't tell me more about consumerism. Tristan Mallory was wary of an infernal circle that broiled his prayers in a permanent cacophony. Once more, unbeknown to her, he mimicked a fake wedding ceremony, a fake joy, to please her. Never again would the fresh and innocent smile of the pictures return. The masquerade drew out until Ambre started to ask to have children again and discovered the truth, one way or another, which would invariably make her plunge into madness, as her obsession was so strong. To counter those numerous relapses, the 30-year-old man often went to the hospital with his wife to meet with the psychiatrist in charge of her review possible changes. So, Tristan, how's Ambre lately? Has her condition improved a little? Not yet. The doctor frowned compassionately. He had been in charge of Mallory's case for some time now and felt particularly powerless in the face of such an impasse with the young lady. Okay. Do you want me to stop? Do you want me to finish this tomorrow morning? Rose, I can if you want. I'll give you a couple seconds. No, it's fine? Okay. All right, I'll try to get through this. I'm assuming it's just about the end, but we'll see. All right, let's keep going. Power ceiling lady. He had tried it all without success. You never know. Is that why you called me, Doctor? He grabbed a pen and played with it nervously while staring at Tristan. No, to be honest, I knew Ambre would relapse again. One of my colleagues told me the other day, allegedly, your wife stopped by the hospital to do the usual dramatic routine. She ran into the intern that didn't really know how to deal with the situation. I regularly explained her case to the newbies. But between the theory and practice, you know, the poor boy meant well. He told her the truth while trying to sugarcoat it, to make her reflect on it. She had another anxiety attack, obviously. By the time he told her to sit down to call for me, she was already gone. If it had been me, I would have tried to buy you some time. Anyway, what's done is done. There's no need to apologize, Doctor. It's not your fault. This gosh darn bear. All right, the fact remains, I booked today's appointment so that I could check on how you're faring and how she's been since that unfortunate incident with my colleague. Nothing's changed. The doctor sighed. He stuck the pen in his coat pocket and stopped walking. While nervously scratching his beard, he mumbled in an understanding tone. Frankly, I'm impressed. I really don't know how you keep doing this, or keep going like this, Tristan. In your place, I wouldn't be able to. But I still have to make you see a doctor, too. You never know. You're not safe from having a breakdown just like her. I totally understand, Doctor. You know, every cycle, I tried to do things a bit differently. But in the end, I'm tired, worn out. I've lost all hope. Oh, no. No. Oh, I thought it switched to the doctor. You know, every cycle, I try to do things a bit differently. But in the end, I'm tired, worn out. I've lost all hope. So, all that I can do for her is to make her as happy as possible during that golden time where she's living a perfect childhood. All that's left of the woman I love is a shadow. So I hope she'll eventually find rest. The two men gazed at Ambre, who was in the hospital's hallways, in the distance, playing like a little girl. Suddenly, Tristan broke the silence, his voice trembling. I wonder if she's ever going to get out of this prison she built around herself to avoid suffering. Is she ever going to accept facing the outside world? Or is she going to keep living in an eternal golden dream where everything is perfect? I wish I could promise you that she'll wake up from the long nightmare, but something inside me thinks she never will call her obsessions into question, which is an immense waste. Because of that, she's forsaken herself from a life that could have been wonderful. Meanwhile, Ambre Mallory was cheerfully having a chat with what she thought to be another little girl of her age. In reality, the young woman was babbling deliriously with dead eyes to her own reflection in the mirror. Still stuck in that never-ending dream, free of hardships. And you know what? I've got a lover, yes, for real. I'm even going to marry him soon. And we'll be happy till the end of time. And I have lots of kids, just like in fairy tales. How could it be otherwise? You're right, every day will be a celebration. If I only didn't have that strange feeling, like I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, are you serious? We had like 5 minutes left? Oh, I could have finished the whole thing. Okay, let me not go crazy. Really? That's the end? Oh, there I said sorry. Sorry, writing, programming. Hilia. Art, Mellow B. Wow. 5 minutes. I can't believe there was 5 minutes left. Wow, that's amazing. Huh. Well, it's not any more uplifting, is it? I thought maybe we're in for some kind of last-minute saving twist. But no, we were not. Well, it saves my voice, I guess. And my energy from doing 2 streams, but man. Video edition, Amy Smith, obsessedillusionist.com. That's kind of a cool name. Well, by the way, I looked up this game to see how close I was to the end. Didn't know, obviously, we were so close to the end. But in looking at some video of a video someone else did playing the game, a walkthrough, the art has changed pretty dramatically as well. The same style, but the representation of the characters in the game look a lot better now, as opposed to, I don't know how long it was ago. I'm assuming this has been out for a couple years. I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but well, that was just a 5-minute stream for me and you, Rose. Ambre, not ombre, but Ambre. Wow, I can't believe there's 5. Oh my god. I did that with something else before. I can't remember what. Have you ever played a game and stopped because you're like, I can't go anymore because I got to go do something, and then you come back and there was only like 10 minutes left in the game? Not usually. This was a little bit of a surprise ending. Nah, not surprise ending, but it happened quick. All right. Is that it? Wow. Well, there's not much else I can do. There's no special settings. Oh, this is a different glaze on this right now. You see, it's like a little bit of a fuzziness. I don't know. Well, it was an interesting trip. I really should just put the same clothes on I had yesterday and then splice these videos together. I'm going to have to do that now because they're such little time. That's so strange. I just had to talk to the doctor for like 5 more seconds. Well, thanks for watching, Rose. And thanks everybody who watched before. This was one of the most unique games I've ever played. I am actually really glad, I can tell you this right to you, that you selected this game to play on a stream. Because I don't know if I would have went through it all if I was just playing by myself. I'd been like, what's this creeper game? I'm not playing this. And it helps to play it on a stream so you guys can see what I'm seeing. I'm reading this. I'm playing this. We're all like, what was going on? And then, you know, it reveals itself. And, yeah, I mean, I got a little choked up. I did. Didn't think that would happen after the first 30 minutes of the game. It's a twisted game. Something else, man. Still kind of creepy even looking back at it. What are you going to do? Makes me think, in a way. All right, that's it. I'll see you in a little while. We're going to do a collaboration stream, or I'm going to be doing a collaboration stream. The Super Video Game Variety Show Go with Nathan. You've been on one of those before, right? Emo, you were there last week, right? Yeah, we'll have fun. I think it's going to be I don't actually know for... all right, I'll just save these details for off the stream. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.